In the human brain, billions of neurons play in harmony. For people with Parkinson's, some neurons change their tune, causing uncontrollable tremors. Now, Abbott technology can target those exact neurons, restoring control and harmony, once thought to be lost forever. The most personal technology is technology with the power to change your life.
Welcome back to the show, everyone. I am super excited for my next guests in this amazing interview that you are not going to want to miss. I am so fortunate to have two leading experts here with me today in the field of Parkinson's and movement disorders. So I want to welcome to the show Dr. Kenneth Martinez and Dr. Chris Duma. Hello, gentlemen.
Thank you for having us.
Hi, Bree.
Thank you for coming. It's nice to have you, and such important topics we're going to be talking about today, which is DBS for short, and that is deep brain stimulation. Fascinating stuff, and I'm going to say that one too many times, so stop me if you're tired of hearing me say that. But you're both, in combined efforts, have helped over 2,000 people with tremors.
That's right.
Take us back a little bit into your history, how the two of you started working together, and
Sure.
the development of this fascinating.
This precise technology started in 1998. So it's been around now for close to 27 years. And what Dr. Martinez is showing there is the size of a small little pacemaker. And the pacemaker is likened to a heart pacemaker. Everybody knows what a heart pacemaker is like, and it actually, instead of the wires going to the heart, the wires go into your brain. And what we're doing with that is we're stimulating certain areas of the brain to either get rid of a tremor of Parkinson's disease, or stiffness, rigidity, the slowness of movements, and also the ability to lower medications that patients are being piled on over the years with the diagnosis of Parkinson's. It also works for essential tremor, which is non-Parkinsonian tremor, something that you might be born with. So it's got a lot of indications now.
Okay, Dr. Doom, I have to tell you, this sounds a little sci-fi. You're actually running a wire from the pacemaker up through the skull, into this part of the brain.
Into the depths of the brain. We go down about 2.5 inches into the brain with wires that are no larger than a very thin piece of spaghetti. And we usually,
and
most patients have two.
You're trying to target and pinpoint this little area right here.
Most patients get 2 wires, one on each side, because Parkinson's disease and tremor is usually a bilateral disease. So both sides of the body are affected. So I'd say about 90, maybe 85% of the patients will get 2 leads, so one on each side.
And how long does this last? You insert it in the body. Mm-hmm. And we're going to talk about this, how Dr. Martinez kind of actually gets into the brain of the patient, and he's able to manipulate the pacemaker, right? But how long once it's in place, how long is it there?
Well, it depends on the lifespan of the generator, the battery. Let's call it the battery. So battery life, if you get the rechargeable one, this is Abbott's rechargeable battery. It's very, very small. It'll last about 15 years if you recharge it once a month, for example.
And tell our viewers, how are they recharging this?
You just wear a little scarf around your neck while you're watching a football game.
Does it have to be a football game?
No, it doesn't. No. You, for about an hour, you can charge it up, and then you're good to go for another month, for example. You can get the larger version, which requires no recharging. That's a little bit larger profile, and that'll last about 3 to 5 years, up to 6 years.
It's a long battery life.
Right, and then you have to have it surgically removed, and you get a new battery, all covered by insurance.
So it seems like this is the way to go.
But once Dr. Duma gets it into the exact right spot, the wires never change. Those never get touched. He never has to go back into the brain again. All we have to do is replace the pacemaker. But the advantage is, as the technology continues to evolve and improve, as it has in the 20 plus years he and I have been involved in this therapy together, patients get to take advantage of that, because the wires, the leads are, for the lifetime of the patient. So, and we have patients that we share that have had this for well over 20, 25 years, and they have been very robust and continue to be of benefit to this day.
And I would imagine, Dr. Martinez, that this pacemaker would become increasingly smaller and smaller and smaller, right?
There's a new technology where we're actually making it small enough to just implant it into your skull. They're working on that right now. So you don't have to make this trajectory down to the chest. Everything is wired into the skull. It's kind of Elon Musk-like.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
Neuralink.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, interesting. Can they make one to make me smarter?
Working on that, probably. Talk to Elon.
He's come up with some great things before. I don't see why he couldn't. If they can create it, Dr. Duma can implant it. That's been our motto.
Yes. So talk to us about any advantages, disadvantages to having something like this to treat these disorders.
So oftentimes I'll be involved as the neurologist on both the preoperative and then the postoperative management. And in terms of implanting this, especially in a disorder like Parkinson's, that's very complex and multifactorial and multifaceted, it's great to be able to streamline and dramatically improve some symptoms that have either been medication refractory, or it allows us to improve the patient's overall control of their symptoms. For instance, tremor that's refractory, we can usually get them well above 90+% control of their tremor that may have been refractory to medications. At about the 6-month mark postoperatively, patients in general are about approximately 45 to 50% better in overall control and quality of life of their Parkinson's symptoms compared to best medical management. And they're usually on anywhere between 30 to 50% less medications depending on the target we go into, which dramatically simplifies their life and their medication regimen and all the side effects they would be getting from those.
Right, that they otherwise won't. How much quality of life is this giving back? Because I'm imagining people that used to play sports, who love being involved in outdoor activities, but yet, having those tremors can probably prohibit them being involved and being able to play like they used to.
Yeah, it's enormous. I had a patient of mine who, for a living, blew glass.
Oh.
He was a glass blower.
Yes.
And he could not blow glass anymore because of a tremor that looked like this. And he used to, make a living down at the Sawdust Festival, and was here every year doing that.
And that was fascinating to watch.
And
I remember
he came to me. We fixed him, put generators in. His tremor completely stopped, and he was able to blow glass again. And for that, he gave me one of his beautiful pieces that he did on his own. I had a woman who likes petit point, the very fine knitting, very fine embroidery, and she couldn't do that anymore because of her tremor. She embroidered a beautiful plaque for me, so it was very. It's one of the most gratifying surgeries that I do as a neurosurgeon.
Do we know what causes Parkinson's or these tremors?
So essential tremor, which was what he was talking about, we can get nearly complete control over, and usually off most medications. Essential tremor is usually genetically inherited and occasionally caused by certain traumas or medication exposures, but the vast majority of them tend to be genetic and run in families. Parkinson's, on the other hand, is only rarely familial, but most of the time, the current leading theory is it actually starts as a damaged protein called alpha-synuclein in the nerves of the gut and intestine that then spread up the vagus nerve in our neck to the brain stem here, and then eventually gets up to the brain stem and finally damages the dopamine nerves up at the top of the brain stem. That process takes anywhere between 5 to 15 years in patients, and eventually they begin to have finally the symptoms of tremor, stiffness, walking problems, shuffling gait, stiffness and slowness that are characteristic of Parkinson's. think of this damaged protein like a car on the freeway, and it's a damaged car on the freeway. What we don't yet have is the ability to get the tow trucks to get that protein off the freeway. But we have achieved some semblance of that in our Alzheimer's patients. We're optimistic in the future. We hope research will help us be able to help clear these damaged proteins and help slow the disease.
So is Alzheimer's in the same general area?
No, it's over in the memory centers, which on my little model would be where my finger is, whereas Parkinson's is usually affecting the deep neurons that control movement in the brain called the basal ganglia.
Absolutely fascinating. And so, Dr. Duma, you mentioned before we started our interview, I had asked the question, how do you get the wires from the brain, out the skull, down the shoulder, and into the pacemaker?
Right, very carefully, right, is the answer. No, there's a technique. I mean, we make only 2 incisions, one in the skull area and then one in the chest. And then we use a long, hollow-tubed tunneler that tunnels under the skin. Plastic surgeons use it all the time. And so we can go just under the first layer of skin and exit out here, enter here, and thread the wiring that way.
So you're not disturbing any other tissue or any other...
Not that, right. Well, there is a risk going by the carotid artery, okay, and the jugular vein. So you have to have some sort of skill. But obviously the concern most people have is putting a wire in my brain, right?
And having somebody else control it.
That's true. No one really realizes that our brains are basically Jell-O wrapped in saran wrap. Okay, so
They're
picture
that
right?
soft.
So once you
Really?
get through the saran wrap coating, which is very analogous to saran wrap. Once you get through there, the substance of the brain is the same viscosity and density as Jell-O. So putting a small little wire through that, putting a piece of spaghetti through that is absolutely nothing.
So the rest of the brain doesn't really even
Doesn't
know
affect
what's
it,
going
has
on.
no idea. And
Interesting.
we believe that the wire just passes right through the little neuron axons and cell bodies and finds its way to the proper
saying,
spot.
hey, what is this foreign object? And,
Right, and it's all directed by computer guidance, 3-dimensional, computer-directed navigation. So we have the ultimate in, navigational techniques now, whereas when I first started, not so good, which was 26 years ago.
Have you just been fascinated by the technology and all of the improvements throughout the years?
Well, it should be. I think medical technology is kind of lagging behind, the real world technology. They need to catch up a little bit.
Seems like they are, a little bit.
So most of what he does is obviously under sedation with the passing of the wires, et cetera, so the patient remembers nothing and feels really nothing. And really, I get them post-operatively, and they have a little aching for a few days, but then usually they don't even really need much pain medication beyond about day 2 or 3. So, so he's describing it in detail, but it's actually very well tolerated. And remember, I'm dealing with, a somewhat more frail population, oftentimes above 65, getting up even into their 80s. And it's still something that's incredibly well tolerated. And he does it one step at a time. During the actual placement of the lead into the brain, the patient will be awake but anesthetized, so they don't feel any pain, but we can see their symptoms, and he actually can get immediate relief and confirm he's in the exact right spot when he turns
In the
on
operating room.
Because you can see
While they're awake.
the tremors stopping.
Yeah.
Wow.
The other, major boost in technology was the virtual aspect. Abbott has the patent and the only generator that can actually be programmed over the internet.
So gratefully, my office was able to beta test this during the pandemic when, of course, everything moved to telehealth. And they were the only company that was able to bring this particular ability to us be able to adjust the devices at home. When the patient is at home and we're in the clinic, we can actually adjust it remotely. But of course, it's all protected by an Apple technology, and that allows us to do it safely, and nobody can hack your brain, nobody can hack the device. And so, but it's given my patients that additional ability that my nurse practitioner and my RN is part of my team. We could communicate with them remotely and make those adjustments to save them a trip, or to be able to get them immediate results and relief of their symptoms that may have needed just a small adjustment oftentimes.
Have you ever programmed anybody in Europe or anywhere outside the United States?
Well, no, technically.
But you could.
But I could. I could. So I have done it in Hawaii, which is within technically the United States.
There shouldn't be any boundaries with that. I mean, they're doing surgeries, in Singapore when the doctor's in Germany.
Good point.
Gentlemen, always a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us. Such valuable information, and I can't even imagine how you've changed the lives of so many people with this technology.
It is nice that this technology and the surgery that Dr. Duma does that provides such relief is covered by every insurance, and it's easier to get his surgery approved than it is sometimes for me to get the name brand medications approved for patients. So I didn't want patients to ever think it was out of their reach.
Sure.
I also think one of the take-home messages for your audience is that, you don't have to live with a tremor. You don't have to live with stiffness and rigidity. You might have to take a little leap of faith and a little trust in your surgeon and neurologist to get one of these, but in most cases, it changes your life. I mean, we've been doing this now for 27 years. If it wasn't working well or causing problems, we would have stopped a long time ago. So it's really beneficial for most people who we choose it for.
Wonderful. Thank you for being here with us today. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Bree.
Dr. Martinez, Dr. Duma.
Appreciate it.
See you
Great.
next time. You're watching This Day on Village TV. We'll be back after these messages. Stay with us.